Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll work our way through the dollar yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. I'm going to give you my financial opinion on all that stuff. And if you need any help, definitely check out finding-value.com. Become a platinum member. Use the word discount and coupon code. And we've got a Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time question and answer session coming on up. So let's dive in here. Let's take a look and see what's going on. We've got the DXY here. Again, we're just grinding on top of this long-term trend line that has contacted in multiple points throughout history. We're right there at support, and we continue to bounce off this support level. At some point, we will break some direction. A lot of people believe that the dollar is going to go lower. Generally, lower yields, lower monetary tightness, lower dollar. But it's hanging in there right now, and it's bouncing off that support level, and maybe we could get a bounce to the upside. The 10-year yield continues to be resilient. We're at 1%. We're still above this support level there, and we're also at the long-term support level, bouncing off this guy here right at that support level. So that's where we're at in terms of yields, and it's holding up quite strong for yields. Looking at the 10-year or 30-year yield, that is continuing to bounce off support. It is up 1.04%. So we do have higher yields today with a slightly lower dollar. And it's hanging in there, and it's still continuing to go up. Bond prices continue to go down or lower. We're up against this resistance line. We've hit it multiple times all through these sections here. We're getting close all these times. And again, it looks to me like we could potentially go lower with the selling pressure today. Higher for yields or interest rates, lower for bond prices. The TYX-TNX ratio, flat today, basically flat. And again, if this thing unwinds and we start to go higher, I think that's positive for precious metals in the big picture view. And that's that yield curve uninverting. It's fear in the market. And that's what's going to drive that potential move is the fear in the market, the fear of recession. And right now, we are playing with that. Now, the one thing that is a little bit weird is we're bouncing off support in yields, and yields have not really dropped on the longer end, the 10-year and the 30-year. So those are remaining resilient, which is a little bit different than what we normally see in a recession. Before a recession, we generally see people running into bonds, and we're seeing yields drop dramatically. So we haven't seen that yet. We've got the 2-year yield here on the short term, down 0.2%, slightly lower. Is this thing going to bounce, basically beeline lower, giving us that signal that there is something in the markets? It's being quite resilient right now. It's just kind of hanging out, moving sideways, grinding. So we'll watch it. And if we break this neckline to the downside, then I do think that the markets think that something's coming, whatever it is. Looking at the CRB index, again, we're pulling on back even further. Yesterday was a large pullback day. Today's a large pullback, finishing strong to the downside. We do have some support just underneath us. We'll see if that holds. We've got the CRB to S&P 500. Looks like they're pretty well matched. Everything kind of selling off together. So it's not just contained to one sector. It's kind of everything selling off. Perhaps fear is gripping the markets. A lot of people say that. It's difficult to say why the market is going down, but people are selling. Gold down a little bit with those higher yields. I think it still looks really good. It's kind of consolidating here in this general vicinity on top of support. That's the support area that I'm talking about. We could even go all the way down to 1930, maybe even 1915 or something before heading higher. So there is some downside wiggle room to go lower before doing a full retest. Silver also heading down a little bit, but again, this looks excellent on a longer term time frame. Let's go weeklies here. So we've got good buying pressure, small little selling pressure. That generally indicates that we want to go higher to the upside. So I think gold and silver still look excellent. It's positioned very well. And that also does well when that TYX TNX ratio moves higher, which we're seeing a breakout to the upside. Platinum still hanging in there, up $3 today. We're right on top of this support line, and we're right there, right at it. So we'll see where this thing goes in the short term. There it is right there. And again, I think we're going to break out. I think we're going to move higher over a longer term time frame. Silver and gold are sitting on top of their patterns. XAU to gold ratio down a little bit. If you look at the short term, we do have a bearish engulfing today. This could see a little bit more downside before heading higher. So we could see a little bit more downside in the gold and silver mining companies. That's what the bearish engulfing is. And we could see an underperformance of gold and silver mining companies in relationship to gold in the short term. GDX is also, there's that bearish engulfing. We could see it pull on back. That's what that candlestick is. We're also seeing it on SILJ. So we could see a little bit of a pullback. We'll see if the buyers come in and reverse it quickly, or if they don't. It doesn't really matter in the short term. These things are going to remain volatile, but longer term, they still are above patterns and they still look really good. Crude oil selling off quite hard today, down 3.5%. They're attributing this to recessionary fears is what they call it. But this gap is filled, and we could be heading down to the $73 level. That would be a full retest. So it looks like we're doing this full retest, and we'll see what happens when we get there. Natural gas holding strong, moving sideways today. It gapped higher, but the momentum is coming back down a little bit. But more and less, just moving sideways over the short term. XOP, yeah, you know me, getting a little bit of selling pressure. It's hard not to fall when you get smoked to the downside on crude oil, but it's still looking all right. For the short term, we haven't broken below this, but longer term, I do think that we could still see downside pressure and head down to the $100 level to do an inverted shoulder head shoulder pattern. OIH also getting a little bit of selling pressure. You can see that it's speeding up a little bit to the downside, so down 2%. We could have a little bit more further downside before heading higher. This looks a little bit too much selling pressure to me for it to just turn and rocket on up. So give it some time. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust slightly down today, down 1%. We've got some pretty good movements here past couple of trading days of upward momentum. Let's see what happens tomorrow, if the buyers come in or if more selling pressure comes in to push it back. But this is battling back and forth between buyers and sellers in this entire region there. URNM down slightly. Looks like it was having a nice run in the beginning of the day, but came back all the way and sold back off. The sellers are still there. So yeah, that's where we're at, and we're just moving sideways for URNM. Buying and selling pressure, battling it out. TAN selling off to the downside. So it's just starting to break out of this pattern. We'll see if we head down back to this support level down at $50-ish and get a full kind of retracement there. That's how it came down. It hit this like $50-ish level, came back up to 105, and then went into the double booty bottom, broke out, and now we could do one flush out move before heading higher. So that's with TAN. We've got COPX up 0.86%, quite strong given the entire overall market and kind of some of those commodities, but we're back kind of to this support level almost. I mean, we're not all the way there, but we were up a little bit, and we'll see what happens there tomorrow. Lithium up a little bit, 1.3%. Again, the momentum is still to the downside. We got to see this shift. Otherwise, we could have a much larger drop all the way down to 38, 40 bucks, 36 bucks, somewhere in that range down there, if it decides to jettison on lower. REMX up 0.42%. I definitely think that the momentum is to the downside. There's no real buying pressure in here. It's mainly selling pressure with large down candlesticks. So look for that to continue to the downside potentially. SPX also getting more selling pressure here. You can see that we kind of broke this here up against this resistance line and broke to the downside. I don't see buying pressure at this moment. So I would assume that we're going to get more selling pressure or more downside momentum that needs to get worked off. Same with the NASDAQ. Again, we squeezed up here. We kind of bounced back off. We could see more downside pressure. We got to see what's going on here. This is a resistance line. We haven't broken it yet. I mean, it's not out of the game yet, but yeah, just a slightly up day, no reversal candlestick, nothing like that. EEM, 0.6% higher, but the momentum is to the downside. That's why it's a red candlestick. And we've broken the downtrend here. We've just been moving sideways ever since. XHB getting a little bit more selling pressure. We're going to come back to this support level. Sure looks like that could be a possibility down at $65-ish. So that's probably where we're heading. We've got MOO slightly getting a little bit of support. Again, I think that this is going to fall lower only because we're below all these support resistance lines, and we haven't broken above it. We're just dilly-dallying sideways, which generally means we could go lower. Copper heading a little bit lower right at support. And there we are looking at it from a longer-term perspective. There's that support level. If you see copper dive way lower, people could be positioning for a recession. Lower interest rates is another thing that we generally see before a recession. People running into bonds, but we haven't really seen that. We're seeing mixed signals here. We're seeing that the markets are selling off. We're seeing that interest rates continue to be firm. So that is a little bit conflicting information there. This is iron ore. Iron ore is flat today, 0.19% higher, but again, I think it looks like it could go a little bit lower in the short term before heading higher. We've got nickel slightly lower, but again, this doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look great. Is this a double top? Maybe, but it's holding together quite well the past few trading sessions, given the overall markets. Aluminum basically moving sideways today. And that's where we are with aluminum. Not much to say there, just moving sideways. Baltic Dry Index still looks fantastic to me. Falling wedge, broken to the upside, and we're just consolidating sideways in kind of a flaggish type pattern. Newcastle Coal still down a little bit. I think this actually looks better and better. You have a large buying pressure day and then a small sell-off, and that generally works its way higher. Or it's going to base out a little bit longer before it moves on higher. Ethereum down a little bit. That was up today, but looks like it's just moving sideways. We've got support all in this vicinity down here. Lots of buying and selling pressure going on, and shares exchanged at that level. Generally, that's good support. Same thing with Bitcoin. You got lots of shares being exchanged all in this area here, providing support for the current price of where it's at. So that's what we've got today, guys. That's the overall markets. A little bit more selling pressure in a lot of the sectors today. We've got mixed signals. That's what makes this difficult. It's easy when things align. A lot harder when things become out of alignment. Usually during transition periods, you get this unalignment. Everything starts going funky. So we could be in a transition period. Maybe we've got a recession coming. Maybe there's some slowing down in the economy ahead of us, and maybe that's what's getting priced in. So that's what we're seeing in the markets right now. I'm still a bull on everything, medium, long term. Short term, though, we could see downside pressure in a lot of these different sectors. We do have a midweek update for the Platinum question and answer session members. I'll post that up here on the website here shortly. Give me a thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website, and I'll see you guys at 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time if you're a platinum member. All right, guys, we'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.